Hi everyone, I'm Kim Alexander and
I am Jessica Ferguson, and this is our podcast.
thank you for joining us. It is October 11th. It's a great day.
It is a Friday.
Cool yeah, we've got some really cool stuff we're going to be talking about today, and I hope that you'll join us. So, what were we talking about first?
I think we'll talk about Lovesick.
Yeah, the current Miracosta theater performance that's going on. It's the current play that's going on. You have till this weekend to see it. It's your last chance. So go on the miracosta.edu site, events, and buy some tickets now. So get them while they're good, guys, because this is your last chance to see the play.
Yeah, I actually just saw it last night, and I was very surprised by it. I thought it was very funny, and I didn't really have any expectations going into it. I'm actually not a big fan of theater, but I really enjoyed this, so I really strongly recommend it. I'm just gonna spoiler alert. Okay, don't listen to this if you don't wanna, if whatever. Spoiler alert. It has a lot of very funny moments, and it's kind of divided up into a bunch of little sketches, and there's like 2 different people per sketch, and there's like a bunch of these funny stories about these crazy little couples in each scene, and it's really interesting, and the comedy is very current based off of things that are going on in current events, and it's I really like the humor. I thought it was really good. So,
would you say it's an overall comedy?
Yeah, it's an overall comedy. So,
nice.
Yeah, it definitely will not bore you. It will keep you entertained, and it will keep you laughing. So,
all right, rock on. I'm gonna try and see it too. So I haven't seen it yet. I actually have had numerous experience doing theater my entire life. I was just telling Jessica that I kind of grew up doing theater, so I love going to see shows. Really excited to see Lovesick if I can, so that's going to be really exciting. Jessica, have you had any experience doing any plays? You said you're not really a fan of doing plays, but have you actually ever been any?
Yeah, I did theater a lot when I was a kid. I was in multiple plays, and I had kind of mixed feelings about it. I was more into like improv and things like that, where I could have more freedom to just kind of say what I want and just bounce off of everybody and just kind of have fun with things, kind of like what I'm doing right now with the podcast, where I can just kind of say and speak my mind and stuff. But when there's kind of just like a script and there's a director and you have to memorize things and everything, I feel a lot more kind of restricted and restrained, and I wasn't into that as much. So I like to have more creative freedom. So I did a lot of plays. Embarrassingly, I don't like to talk about this. In 7th grade, I was in a High School Musical play.
I've done numerous high school plays too. That's how I started.
But I was in High School Musical, from Disney Channel.
Oh, actual High School Musical?
High School Musical.
Nice.
And I didn't have a big part. I was just in the chorus, and I was dancing in the background, and I was like dancing horribly. And
hey, we're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had coffee.
So,
yeah. Do you like it though?
I just kind of had to just dance in the background and sing, and I didn't really get a big part, so it was kind of just a bunch of like choreography I had to remember, so it wasn't really that fun for me. So it was an interesting experience.
So would you say then that when it comes to performing, you'd rather do it on your own time and not be under like a spotlight, as long as it's under your like say so?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm more into writing and directing a little bit more than acting, because then I get to kind of choose how things go, and it's more of like my decision. And I because I have like a mind of my own, and I like to be creative, and I don't really like to follow others. I'm a little bit more bossy and like to
Yeah.
think of things for myself.
Yeah. So before we started the podcast, you told me that you have the class acting for the camera. Would you mind talking about that real quick?
Yeah. So it's a really difficult class. My teacher, he was actually in Titanic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
He was,
Nice.
yeah, he had like a small role. He was this guy who got separated by his family because they had to go onto the lifeboat. So he was, he had to like say goodbye to his kid and everything. And
did he actually get screen time in the actual movie, or
I think he had a speaking role and everything. Yeah,
Oh,
I can't
awesome.
remember. I love Titanic. It's probably my favorite movie of all time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did
So
not end up on the cutting room floor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Success.
So, I mean, it's really cool. So he has all these stories to tell about how he got to interact with James Cameron and Leonardo DiCaprio and everything. So, I mean, I feel like there is a lot of kind of pressure in that class because he is a very prestigious acting teacher, I think, because he's been in a lot of different things that he's talked about. He said that he was in Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, cool.
And
who is this professor again? Is this the other guy?
His name's like John something. I feel so bad because I didn't remember his name.
Is it the other guy who Bolin talks to during film club?
No, I think he's somebody else.
Okay.
I have no idea. So
whatever.
Yeah.
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 What kind of stuff do you guys do in acting for the camera? Because I have no idea what that is, and I'm really now kicking myself for not taking that class.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's like The Office. So, you know how in The Office...
Cue the obnoxious pan right into her face.
Yeah. No, well, you know how on The Office, how everyone just gets recorded and it's like an interview and they get to talk into the camera? Well, that's what we do. We watch each other get recorded into the camera, and it's like an interview, so we get sort of these like audition tapes every class. We have to do something different in front of the camera. We have to talk to the camera. That's and cool. It's a really, we get like assigned something different, like we have a script or something like that, and it's really hard, I think, because normally in theater or on the stage when you're interacting with someone, you have somebody to play off of and you have somebody to interact with, or there's like a set piece or something. So it's easier to know what the circumstances are. But when you're just on the camera, in front of the camera with the spotlight, you have to really imagine things on your own. And it's like the camera's on you, the spotlight's on you, it's all on you. Yeah. So it's a lot more pressure, I think, to really have to come up with everything on your own. So it's a completely different skill acting in front of the camera than it is on stage.
Oh yeah. So one of the biggest things, in my opinion, one of the biggest differences between acting on camera, whether it's film or TV, and then acting on stage, is that when you're on stage, you have to overact because there's going to be people in the very back of the audience who aren't going to be able to see micro expressions, things that you would be able to specifically view through a camera. People aren't going to be able to see that kind of stuff. So technically you have to overact, and so you have to be able to perform so everyone else can really see what's going on.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I realized. And yeah, when you're on stage, you have to be very, very expressive, I feel like, and you have to really perform. But when you're on the camera, our teacher is teaching us to be very authentic with ourselves and you have to really he's teaching us about this thing called essence. You have to be really true to yourself and what you are, but when you get in front of the camera, so that it seems real. And that you're being a real, true person that's in front of the camera, because that's what acting is. You have to be believable. So
yeah, absolutely. You have to be, and not only that, it's also a really great exercise for a class like this to constantly be doing stuff in front of the camera, because the more you do it, obviously, the better at it you'll get, and the more relaxed that you'll get. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's really been, like, a challenge for me having to, like, calm my nerves. Because it's, like, the camera's on you, the whole class is watching you. It's, like, it's really, I think it's really a challenge. You have to, first, you know, I have to calm my nerves, and then I have to, like, try to memorize everything, and then I have to, like, get in character. It's, you know, it's a step-by-step process, and, you know, and my class is coming up right after, and I have this whole script, and I'm totally not prepared for it, and I have to...
I procrastinate
too. So you know, we'll see how that goes, so, yeah.
Well, best of luck, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you comfortable speaking in public a lot? Is that something you struggle with? Because I usually don't. It's actually very rare nowadays, except for a little event yesterday, that I ever really get nervous. But for the most part, I've grown up performing and being in front of audiences all the time, to where, like, I'm totally fine with having an audience looking at me, because I've done it my entire life.
Yeah.
But it's different for everyone. There are people who have been doing it for years, of course, and they get freaked the fuck out just doing an interview and stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you feel on that? Like, do you get nervous a majority of the time when you have to be in front of people, like presentations, if you don't mind me asking?
It definitely depends on my comfort level, I think. You know, I don't think it's black or white. I think that it depends on, like, my nerves that day, my mood that day, you know, sometimes, or, like, if I'm just talking with somebody, there might be somebody that I'm more comfortable with. So, like, if I feel like I can pour, like, all of my feelings out, or, like, everything that I'm thinking out in front of certain people, then I can totally be comfortable with myself, and I can totally say exactly what's on my mind. But sometimes if I'm not feeling that way, then I'll kind of restrict myself a lot more and hold myself back. So, you know, there's kind of this term called being an ambivert. So you're not really an introvert or an extrovert. You're kind of, like, in the middle. So if, like, you know, I can be like that sometimes. So if I'm with someone that's more quiet, I can be a little bit more, like, loud. And if I'm, like, with someone that's more loud, then I can get, like, more shy and hold myself back. So it's, you know, it's kind of like I'm in the middle.
It's a classic representation of when an introvert is finally comfortable with the people around them. They become the most extroverted motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah.
Am I right? Am I right? Ladies and introverted gentlemen, can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah. It's like, because introverts, the thing with introverts is that they have so much on their mind. The reason why they are quiet, the reason why we are quiet as introverts is because we have so much on our mind. We just don't feel like talking because we are thinking all the time. And once we become comfortable with somebody, we just want to say everything.
We fly off the fucking handle.
Yes.
It's great. It's fucking fabulous. Excuse my language. This is not for the faint of children's hearts. Yeah. So, that also is a great segue into another topic we wanted to talk about. Introverts in an extroverted industry.
Yes, oh my goodness. I mean, not just an extroverted industry, in an extroverted world.
Oh, yeah.
This whole world is built for extroverts, I think, because in life you just have to, like, you have to go out and get a job, you have to go to school, you have to do, everything involves interacting with people, socializing with people, you have to smile for people, you have to...
Gross. Oh my God.
You have to be friends with
Horrible.
people. And if you're not, then you're, you know, then you're kind of judged, and then you're, you know, because the thing with, like, introverts is that it's not that we don't want to be friends with people and we don't want to get along with people. We just kind of, like, think differently from others.
Yeah, I think we value who we become extroverted around. Our energy is a precious freaking resource, and we don't want to waste it on a bunch of, like, people we don't really know or people we don't really feel comfortable with. Yeah,
I feel like introverts really value trust and who we open ourselves up to. So we just, like, introverts really just don't have the patience for people that are gonna, like, waste our time or people that, you know, might be bad for our energy, like toxic people who might hurt us, or you know, we really want to.
We have like. Introverts just don't really have time for that, you know? we're over the bullshit. And there's certain, especially personality types, way too extroverted out, like personality types or whatever, that I cannot stand.
Yeah.
I cannot stand certain types of people. Especially the people who are, like, they run on caffeine almost. They run on anxiety-inducing persona, in a sense. I can't really... It takes too much energy to have to put up with those kinds of people, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, I just feel like it makes the collaboration process, especially in the industry or whatever, kind of challenging, and it tries my patience.
Yeah.
Dealing with people who are just too much.
Yeah. Something that, like, I don't have the patience for is, like, small talk. Yeah. And just meaningless conversations. I like to just have a good conversation. I like to actually get somewhere with people. I want to talk about things that matter. And, you know, like, if you're just going to be talking about the weather, it's like, why are we talking about the weather?
Yeah. No time for idle chit-chat.
Yeah.
If I want to talk to you, I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really just a waste of my time. And not only that, if I don't really know a person and I have no real interest in trying to tell them about me.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying when I have those kinds of people who are the type of, like, really outgoing, almost obnoxious type of personalities who, like... I'm trying not to say like, because we promised ourselves that. Damn it, I'm sorry. So, certain personality types really irk me, especially when they keep trying to get to know me. And for example, you know, when you meet someone new and they're one of those people who's just obnoxiously nice and they just want to know all about you instead of realizing, like, hey, these are really personal questions to ask someone you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just find that stuff really uncomfortable, and I'm trying to work on my boundaries to where I can tell them, like, I don't feel comfortable with talking about this stuff to you.
Yeah. You really have to, I think, relationships, I feel like it's a slow process of taking the time to get to know somebody and building trust. And
especially with nowadays... It's, like you said, it's such an extroverted world that people flip their freaking lid if you don't go along with their persona.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they get offended if you don't really want to talk to them or if you don't want to open up to them, which is the worst thing ever. People just don't realize nowadays that people should have boundaries.
Yeah.
And... you should back the hell off.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes if someone's, like, introverted and shy, people can, like, misinterpret that as someone being mean or cold or
when in
not
reality,
wanting to talk to them. They're just shy. They just don't really feel comfortable opening up.
Yeah,
and they just want to keep to themselves.
Or sharing very personal and intimate details about their life or who they are with a person they don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And people get offended, especially they get offended when you actually say, I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable saying that kind of stuff or talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's the idea or the subject of boundaries in a natural environment when you come across someone you don't know. It's like it doesn't even exist really that much nowadays.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts. So, what's your take on collaboration? Because that's also something that when you're dealing with personality types, the obnoxious kind that I can't really stand, it makes collaboration, I think, that much more difficult.
Yeah, you know, I kind of agree that, like, it can be hard having to deal with people that you just don't want to work with. But it's kind of something that I've had to learn how to you just have to deal with it because you got to survive in this world. And you can't change things, unfortunately, when things are just the way that they are. So you gotta, like, learn how to adapt sometimes in order for your survival, so...
Yeah. Although my patience is very fucking thin nowadays. Yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so part of the collaboration process that kind of just grinds my gears, especially...
Family Guy.
Yes, it grinds my gears.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah, so the problem that I'm trying to find a way to properly handle this kind of situation if it arises are the type of people, and these type of people are out there, the type of people that, let's say, argue for the sake of arguing and not to actually solve problems. The type of people who deliberately try to stir up shit.
Yes.
And I was watching some YouTube videos about this woman who is like a Hollywood writer or whatever, and she's worked with a lot of writers and done a lot of writers' room stuff. And she talks about the type of people who, it's like their ego gets in the way. She was talking about this one person in Hollywood or whatever who literally reads every award-winning script of that year and writes a card saying how I think they could have written something better to each and every winner. Like, they send a card pretty much shitting all over the award-winning script or whatever. And I'm just like, these people actually exist, and it drives me nuts. So I think it's, especially for an introvert like me, I find it kind of difficult when I run into those kinds of personalities that are literally not out there to help other people, or basically the type of people who are just there to shit on everyone.
Yeah, I feel like introverts are highly sensitive people and just want to, like, keep the peace, and so... Yeah. And just want everybody to just get along and chill the F out. And if there's just someone that comes along that just wants to, like, argue about everything, it's annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, the type of people who love basically just being a dick. Who just love ruining it for other people. What Bolin said, Professor Bolin, he's our film professor. He was talking to us the other day about what's called the 10%, the type of people that we're talking about that you do not want to give basically any type of attention to, because they're just there to stir the fucking pot and just kick up shit. Those problem kind of people. Just stay away from those 10%. Learn how to recognize them, and then obviously stay the hell away from them. Just don't give them any of your time and attention.
Yeah. Because we're living in an era of social media where everyone is arguing with each other. Everyone's creating drama just to create drama. Everyone's heated. Like, if you've seen Twitter lately, everyone's just arguing at each other. Everyone's leaving hate comments. Everybody's just doing that for no reason. And everyone's just trolling each other. Everyone's just, like, we're living in this cancel culture where everyone just, like, likes to take down everybody for no reason.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not solving anything. It's just tearing down people. What's the point of that?
Absolutely. And I actually did some research on the subject of social media and its negative effects on basically people nowadays. And they have stated on camera in interviews, people who are like former CEOs of Facebook, for example, or Twitter, they have been recorded on camera saying that they have taken notes out of basically casino gambling with the intent of incorporating these kinds of tactics into social media with every intention of getting people addicted to social media. So, certain sites, like Twitter, for example, are catered to foster and trigger negative emotions towards people. There's actually there's interviews from Jared, God, what was his name? There's this guy who I think he used to be part of Google or whatever, and he's actually done a lot of information and research and study on the effects of social media and things like Twitter. And Twitter has an algorithm that caters to quick responses, and that researchers have found that the quickest responses are negative responses. And then the algorithm caters to those negative responses. So people get really fired up.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that's our society now at this point, especially, politically. I'm going to bring politics into this right now.
Oh shit.
Trump is our president right now. And
careful, you might get a lot of flack comments. Dude.
I don't care. I have to talk about this. Trump is our president right now, and he is making everything worse, and nothing is getting solved right now because he is just stirring up the hate. And we have a political leader that is stirring up more and more hate. And, and we're living in a world where everyone just wants to hate on each other. And hate, leave hate comments constantly. And the fact that we have a political leader that is encouraging that is making everything worse.
I think there are maybe several world leaders who are definitely not helping, and, I think they kind of definitely cater towards narcissistic tendencies, if anything. So it's not really helping the public because people are just going off the rails. And what's more is that they're reacting instead of actually thinking about what's going on and then taking the time to respond, if anything, properly. So, it's just, people are just so upset right now, and they're just not really handling it appropriately. If anything, they're reacting instead of just listening.
Yeah. So. It's like, you have to be able to take the time to talk rationally with each other and solve problems and sit down. Like, if people could spend all of their energy, like, writing letters to our politicians and stuff, instead of, like, getting all riled up about the issues that are going on right now and complaining about it on social media, like, imagine the difference that we can make if people actually went out and did something good for their community, like volunteering or anything like that, like took action instead of just speaking and, like on social media and just getting mad and arguing with everyone and trying to like prove a point and getting mad at every single person who disagrees with them. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine the world that we could live in.
Yeah. And I think a huge negative contributor, I like your shirt too, it's a Linkin Park. It's awesome. Sorry, don't distract me. I think a huge contributor to the fostering of possibly negative reactions is how the media is portraying certain things. Yeah. Whether it's fake news or not. For example, the media coverage of the movie Joker right now. Yeah. I definitely think that the media is kind of blowing it out of proportion when it comes to how they want people to receive the Joker movie. So I just don't really think that the media is helping. Media is kind of obsessed right now. Certain media outlets or whatever, let's say the 10%, who are really obsessed, apparently, with pointing out certain things about the Joker movie. Oh, it's about a mentally ill white man, that kind of crap.
Oh my
They're
God.
Trying to make it seem like this is catering towards the whole white male making of a mass shooter, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Focusing on the
People
aspects
love
of gun violence
to
or
take
whatever.
Everything out of context.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah.
They love to, like, just go fishing for problems everywhere.
Yeah, they're just blowing it out of proportion.
Yeah.
They're just trying to stir the frickin' pot. What TV shows were you talking about that?
So yeah, I want to see Insatiable. So season 2 just came out today on Netflix, and I really really like that show. It's super controversial, and because it's about this girl named Patty, and it stars Debbie Ryan. She was this girl who played Jessie on Disney Channel.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I think she's really good in this role, and she plays this girl that's really really crazy. Like she's a really like intriguing protagonist to me. So she's this girl that's always playing the victim because she's butthurt that she used to be fat and that she...
Oh, is this the chick who becomes like the hot chick?
Yeah, she loses weight and then she wants to get revenge on everybody who was mean to her.
I've heard about that. I haven't seen it though. It's...
And then she kind of, like, throughout the series, she kind of, like, ends up hurting a bunch of other people who are trying to help her.
She turns into a bitch.
Yeah, she basically turns into a bitch because every single person... She kind of ends up blaming everybody for her problems. But at the same time, you end up, like, feeling bad for her in some situations because the show is following her story.
Mm-hmm.
And she narrates the entire show. So she's like, oh, I felt so bad because this thing started happening and this thing started happening. So it's like there's parts where you do feel sympathy for her, but then at the same time, she's doing bad things. And then you're like, ugh. So you feel...
She can't keep justifying her own actions. Because we're all responsible for our own actions. And whether it's justifiable or not, you're still responsible for the shit that you do.
Yeah.
And doesn't make it okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what I love about that show. It's like, I think it's pretty deep how it deals with that issue like what you were talking about. And, and I think it deals with a bunch of stuff. It has LGBT stuff in it too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Netflix shows have been doing that. And yeah, there's this one character named Nani, and she has a crush on Patty. But she comes out of, like, the closet towards the end of season 1, and...
spoilers!
Yeah, spoilers!
Damn it, Jessica. God, from a ball!
Sorry. Yeah. And then, there's this character named Bob. There's 2 Bobs in the show. There's a character named Bob.
Hi, Bob.
And I love him. He's, like, very flamboyant and Bob.
There's Bob, and then there's Bob.
And he's gay for this other Bob, and but that's a spoiler. That's a spoiler. But he hates the Bob at first in the beginning of the show, and then they become gay later. And I think it's a really funny twist. That's what I love about the show is that like it's so unpredictable. Like the critics hate the show. Like there's so many critics that just have slammed the show, but the audience loves the show. Like it has a high audience score, and.
Fuck critics.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's good. I think it has, like, a lot of satire, a lot of, like, really interesting humor. And I love how, like, unpredictable and weird it gets at certain times. Like, it starts out like, really weird. There's a lot of, like, pedophile jokes and stuff.
Oh, wow.
It's, like, it tries to be as offensive as possible, and then it gets...
Oh.
And then it just... has so many twists and turns as this show goes on, and I just really like that. It just keeps my attention as I keep watching it. So
if you want offensive, by the way, check out Brandon Rogers on YouTube. Then you'll thank me later, or you might want to punch me in the face, or him. But offensive. Yeah, people can't take jokes nowadays.
Yeah, people just can't take jokes nowadays. That's why I respect this show. That's why I respect Insatiable. I respect anything that has the balls to go out there and make jokes that, people aren't comfortable joking around about in a society that's overly offended by everything.
Yeah. Because
we used to have a lot of shows that were very satirical back in the day. I rewatched The Office earlier this year. And The Office had so much, like, offensive things that probably would not slide now in 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the things that Michael would do to his coworkers and stuff, how he outed, like, Oscar and everything and kissed him, like...
I don't watch The Office, but I know about that. It was fucked up.
Yeah. And, like, The Office but that's what made The Office so great. Like, it put itself out there and did things. So that's why I really like this show. We need shows that can do things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
Very thought-provoking topics. A TV show that I'm really excited that's coming back for its 3rd season soon is Westworld. Have you seen it? Or have you heard of it?
What's it about?
Think Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
but with androids. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is it on like Netflix or what's it on?
It's on HBO.
HBO.
Yeah.
So does it have like a lot of nudity in it?
Yes.
Of course.
I'm not complaining. Just saying. I haven't felt the touch of a man in years. Just kidding. Ignore me. I had a coffee. So yeah, the cast is. It's got Evan Rachel Wood. It's got Ed Harris. He's fantastic. Anthony Hopkins. Let me pull up IMDb.com, one of my favorite sites. And coming on this adventure in the 3rd season we're about to have is new addition Aaron Paul, who just came out as not came out or whatever, but he was Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad, and today was the release on Netflix for the Breaking Bad extension movie.
Oh my god, I want
following
to see that.
Jesse Pinkman's character. So
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that El Camino, which is what it's called.
Jesse Pinkman was probably my favorite character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna see it with my mom because I promised her. But I'm pretty sure El Camino takes place possibly a few days after the finale events of Breaking Bad. So that's going to be really cool to visit Jesse's character again, especially that world. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So Aaron Paul is a new addition to the Westworld. We've got Jeffrey Wright, Tessa Thompson, Tandy Newton, James Marsden, and Luke Hemsworth is also a new addition. Shannon Woodward, and a lot of other fantastic actors. It's a very futuristic, futuristic. I'm all tongue-tied now. What the hell? Basically, it takes place in a theme park centered around a kind of Western theme where it's got all kinds of androids who are hosts in the park, and they're extremely realistic. And then there's one of the plot points is some of the androids start becoming sentient and start thinking on their own. So now I think there's a very thought-provoking question. At what point are humans considered humans, or what makes a human a human? So I'm really excited to visit the world again. There's going to be a new theme park, I guess. In the first season, it just takes place in Westworld and the real world. And in the second season, we see Samurai or Shogun world. Very Japanese feudal era-esque theme park, which is really, really fantastic. So now, from what the trailers show us for the 3rd season, I think there's going to be not just a futuristic park, but now also I think there's going to be a park that is set in Hitler era Germany, Nazi Germany or something. So that's going to be really, really fascinating what people are going to be like in that type of theme park, because this is a park where people can basically play out their most intimate fantasies, and I mean intimate, to where it gets really, really messed up. There's some really messed up stuff that happens in here. Think Game of Thrones, but a futuristic Jurassic Park centered around human androids. Yeah. So it's pretty trippy, and the performances are just fantastic, and I highly recommend it. So now that Game of Thrones is over,
like one of those like dystopian society type shows.
Yeah. So very, very near futuristic dystopian society or whatever.
Yeah.
So
like Hunger Games, kind of,
but the world isn't in jeopardy. But it just takes place in this gigantic, massive theme park where pretty much anything can happen. I mean, obviously anything can happen in the real world, but this is a park where the human characters, the guests, go into this park and they're able to act out their most intimate desires or fantasies. Yeah. And we see some people really let loose in there. Yeah. And they do it with such fantastic performances. So I'm really, really excited to see that. And especially now that Game of Thrones is over, looks like they're going to be spending a lot of big budgets
at the Game of Thrones ending.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shall we tackle that one now?
I don't know if people were more pissed off about the Game of Thrones ending or the Last Jedi movie. Like, those reactions were...
Probably Game of Thrones, dude, because Game of Thrones took up 10 years of our fucking life.
Yeah.
So, I'm just like, I want the last 10 years of my life back, please. But at the same time, like, in a sense, it kind of seemed like a very realistic ending to where some really fucked up shit happens in this series. Mm-hmm. But realistically, they're very real kind of characters in a sense, to where messed up shit happens, but these characters deal with that and life goes on. Yeah. And unfortunately not in the way that we had hoped. Mm-hmm. So obviously no one was safe in this series, and anything can happen, and anything pretty much did happen. It was a real trip. It was a fun ride, and then it kind of was a hugely bittersweet ending, but in a sense, to me, very realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually never watched Game of Thrones. Well, no.
Don't waste your time.
I have actually, well, no, I don't watch it, but I have seen some episodes, and I could never get into it. Like, it just wasn't my thing. And, like, I watched season 1, and I could never get past, like, the first season, because it was just, I don't know.
It's different?
Yeah, it's I don't know, it just, like, wasn't really my thing. It was, there was, like, a lot of kind of nudity, and...
It was,
I thought it was kind of gross.
When it comes down to it, I think nudity in whether it's TV shows or movies, whatever, depending on how it's used, it can be really annoying, distracting, and just obnoxious. And sometimes just fucking distasteful.
Yeah, and I feel like there were, like, a lot of male characters that were, like, torturing women, and I was like, okay, what the hell is this?
Yeah. But there are some female characters, you have to admit, they kick some serious fucking ass.
Yeah.
Dude, which
like
is really
Arya.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Arya's
really liked
just
her.
a little badass.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So what was it called? Spoiler alert. Do you know what happens in the finale, real quick?
Doesn't, like, Daenerys turn bad and everyone gets mad?
No, what Arya does.
Oh.
What
happens to Arya?
Nothing happens to her. She does something awesome. Do you want me to...
Yeah, just tell me. Yeah, like, I don't care.
So,
I'm not gonna watch it.
Really cool. Spoilers. Not that it matters, because don't waste your fucking time watching it anyway. Arya does the big badass move, which I figured she would. There's a trap where she ends up dealing the death blow to the Night King. She's the one who kills him. So something that I thought was really funny, this is really cool at how much people all over the freaking globe can kind of like come together, because I think that episode aired the night before the MTV Awards. So the night of the MTV Awards, I think Drake had actually just won an award, and then he's like, yeah, but shout out to Arya Stark getting some shit done or whatever. So that was really fucking hysterical, and just crowd was going nuts. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So I feel like that kind of stuff about how much a series or a movie or whatever can bring people all across the globe together. I think that's really cool and really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't there like a director that you wanted to talk about? Or
yeah. So there's a few movies that are coming out that I'm really keeping tabs on. And then please hold. So one of my favorite new directors is David F. Sandberg, and he has a very, very fantastic story. He and his wife Lotta Lawson. So these are two people who started out making short films in their home back in Sweden where they lived. So
I love Sweden.
Oh yeah, I'd love to go there.
PewDiePie.
But yeah, they started off making a bunch of little short films at their own home. Little, I don't know, around 5-minute clips or whatever. Little short horror films as well. Mm-hmm. So one of them, their most popular short film that they did, Lights Out.
Lights Out.
Yeah,
that's such a good movie.
So hold on to that.
All right.
So Lights Out originally started as a short film, which David and Lotta wrote, directed, and starred in themselves or whatever. So I guess it got posted to Reddit, and it went viral. And then soon after, they started getting actual, like, emails and stuff from Hollywood. Hollywood came knocking. So they ended up, over the course of, like, a year or two, started getting talked with by people and wanting to get a feature-length film made from Lights Out. Long story short, James Wan, who's really big in the horror film industry as well, he ended up producing the feature film of Lights Out, and David F. Sandberg himself got to direct his own feature film inspired by his short film Lights Out. And Lotta Lawson, his wife, ended up also having her own little role in that as well. And it's really cool because David F. Sandberg, he has a lot of, he's got his own background in filmmaking as well, because he started out doing short films, and he started out doing a lot of animation, especially, I think, around comedy.
Oh, wow.
So he's got background. He definitely knows his stuff. And he also has his own YouTube channel, which is how I found them, called Pony Smasher. So you can find him on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Pony Smasher. So you can definitely check out his stuff on YouTube as well, because he's got a lot of fantastic tips and tricks and techniques on filmmaking in general, especially making short films, which he and Lotta definitely expressed the desire to keep making more short films as well. So it's really cool. And Lotta Lawson is also on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter as well. So you can find them both and follow their stuff, and they just have a lot of really fantastic stuff to do and share. So I just think it's really fantastic because David has done some interviews with people like Film Riot on YouTube. Check out their stuff too, because they're very film centric as well, and I'm huge fans of theirs too.
Yeah. I've been like watching a lot of like techniques and stuff on YouTube lately about like how to write scripts and like, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Lately I've been kind of getting into that, so I might check that out.
Yeah.
If you send me the link.
Our professor for our screenwriting class shows us a lot of films from, I think it's Word Dancer, is this woman who's a screenplay writer as well, and she's got a lot of fantastic tips and trips on how to write screenplays. So if you guys want, check her out too as well on YouTube. So she's got a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, he was just going over with us in class about how not to overwrite a script, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that really interesting because I feel like as writers, we get into the habit of writing a lot, and we think that's good. Because, you know, like when I write an essay or whatever, you know, I want to use a lot of like big vocabulary words, and because I think that sounds smarter, and I just want to write a lot because, you know, I feel like we've been taught that in like English classes to write as much as we can because that's better. But in script form, he's telling us that we have to make things short and sweet and to the point because it has to be, you can't have too many words on your script because then if you're reading too much on the script, then it feels like a novel and not really like a movie. And it's really hard to explain to you.
Yeah. So basically what the deal is when you're writing a screenplay, you're not writing it to show people how the movie is made. You're just trying to tell the people who want to see if it's good or not, like what's actually happening. Just make it short and simple. Just get it out and just tell them. Just tell them what's happening.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time doing all the details and stuff, because that'll be for when they're actually like doing production on set and when they're actually filming and doing blocking, all that stuff. Just basically tell them what's happening. Just get it out, plain and simple. So yeah,
because it's like the thing is that what we've learned is it's really an actor's job or a director's job to decide all the details that are put into a movie, or kind of like the set designer's job or the people who do the costumes and all of that. They're the ones who do all the details. The writer is just doing the writing, basically.
What Bolin said, don't dress the set. That's not your job. That's the everyone else's
job. The writer
job.
is just carrying the story. That's it. Like the action and what the characters are doing, they're not setting up all the detail and the atmosphere and everything because that's not their job.
Yeah. Short and sweet and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found that really interesting because, like, he had us write some scripts, a few weeks ago, and I feel like I wrote, like, the entire page. I wrote, like, some big-ass paragraphs and stuff, about, like, what I wanted to write, and it totally felt like I was writing a novel. I just went and just typed everything that was on my mind, and then I was like, I knew it didn't feel right, like, this is not what a script looks like, but I just went for it, and then I learned that that's not how it's done, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about writers and directors and how they kind of differ. So, Jessica, sorry.
Yeah, so,
I'm working on it, I swear.
Yeah.
So, what's the role of a director?
Yeah, I feel like the director kind of gets to have it all sometimes. The director kind of gets to just show up and tell everyone what to do and how everything is done. And the writer, they come up with the concept of the story in their mind, and then the director kind of shows up and then they change up everything.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I definitely feel like directors, in a sense, they have way more creative control.
Yeah.
They're the ones who help dress the set, so to speak.
Exactly.
So and there's, I think, a huge difference between writing a script and then, for instance, writing a novel. Yeah. Because when you're writing a novel, you have pretty much complete creative control over your material.
Yeah.
And the only things that can ever really get edited are at the say or whatever of like an editor.
Yeah.
So whereas you're writing a script, basically you're also collaborating with possibly other people, whether you're in a writer's room, and then when you're, I guess, writing a movie script, from what we had previously talked about, you're basically just getting the general story plot out. So it's not the writer's job to dress a set, whereas they just tell the general gist of the story, and then the director and everyone else in post and current production or whatever, they're the ones who get the more creative control as to how to tell a story.
Yeah.
How to flesh the actual story out and how to shoot it.
That's why I feel like it would be nice to ever have, like, the advantage in your career to be able to both write and direct a film.
Yeah.
Because then you get to, like, tell the story exactly how you want. I feel like when a writer and a director, like, does both, like, there's been moments where there's, you know, people who have done most, blah, blah, blah. There's been moments where they've done both. Those writers and directors, like, have made great films.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, for example, like, James Cameron, I think he, like, wrote and directed Titanic.
Yeah.
Even though people think he's, like, a jackass. And he's, you know, and he just bosses everyone around, and he's, you know, he's a dick. But he had a vision, and he wanted it to be a certain way, and then he made it how he wanted it to be. So. Yeah.
I think, and not only that, obviously with the Joker, Todd Phillips, the director, he was also, I guess, one of the writers as well. Let me just check that up real quick. So, Joaquin Phoenix and Todd Phillips in interviews were both saying, yeah, Todd Phillips is also one of the writers, and then Scott Silver and I think 3 other people as well. So they were stated on in interviews that even though they had an official script put together, even until the last day of shooting, they were still kind of rewriting and stuff like that. So Todd Phillips, also being the director and one of the writers, definitely that I feel you're absolutely right that does help a lot when it comes to creative control and having more control over how you tell that story as well.
And it's like the directors and the actors, they can, like, if they have the opportunity to, they can, like, completely change the script if they wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, you know, my acting teacher was actually telling a story about this. He was saying that, I forgot what film it was, but he was given the opportunity to act in this movie that ended up doing really well in the box office. Yeah, totally forgot what movie it was, but he looked at the script and he thought that the movie was going to do terribly because the script was awful.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he turned it down, and then the movie ended up doing really well.
Really?
And
damn.
And then he went and saw it in theater, and he was, like, really mad, but because he was, like, jealous because he wanted to, like, be in the movie. But then he saw what they did with it, and the actors and the directors turned it into something really wonderful.
Yeah.
And so it's really, you know, I feel like it's really, like, 2 completely different jobs and what they do. And
yeah. Because when you read a script, it's very, in a sense, not blank slate, but it's very just, it's in a sense kind of blank slate.
Yeah.
You have just a list of what goes on, but other than that, it's not completely fleshed out, of course. Mm-hmm. So definitely, it's really, depending on how you read the script, everyone has a different interpretation of what this script can be. Mm-hmm. So obviously, you're gonna imagine it a different way.
Yeah.
So, depending on how the director does what's in that script, depending on how they bring that script to life, it can have an extremely different take. You can have an extremely different take on a script.
I just feel like the writer really does get, like, the short end of the stick sometimes because they really imagine it to be a certain way, and then when someone completely changes up their work, I feel like that can be really insulting to the writer and, you know, how their story was, and, you know, they had a vision, they had, you know, an idea in their mind of what they wanted it to be, and then, you know, someone completely makes it something different.
You know, writers or directors leaving a project because of creative differences, and they just can't settle on something. I think there was a situation where Steven Spielberg wanted to work with Stephen King on a haunted house flick.
Yeah.
They had creative differences, so they separated. Stephen King ended up doing Rose Red, which is absolutely fucking phenomenal. Love it. And then Steven Spielberg ended up creating Monster House.
Yeah.
And they're both drastically different.
Yeah.
So
Steven and Steven.
Yeah.
Even though their names are the same.
The first names. Yeah. Yeah, very, Steven Spielberg, I guess, wanted to do a more kid-friendly haunted house flick. And then Stephen King, of course.
Yeah.
He's all out in horror, dude. So, and if you haven't seen Rose Red or Monster House, I definitely encourage you to check it out.
I remember Monster House.
Yeah.
Seeing that as a kid. I liked that movie.
That's its uvula.
Yeah.
So it's a girl house! Okay, sit the fuck down, dude. You had too much Halloween candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should probably end things right here.
Alright.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going on an hour and 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Depending on how much I clip this thing down. Thank you for listening. I'm Kim Alexander. And
I'm Jessica.
Ferguson. Yeah. Alright, thanks guys. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Please be nice. Because I am not going to tolerate yo shit. Alright, have a good one. See you the next time.